So I'm Randy. I'm an alcoholic.
Randy.
So grateful to be here. I love Saturdays. I just love it. So I have alcoholism. I still have it. Should be gone by now. I've done everything you're supposed to do. I haven't drank for a long time. That alone should take care of it, right? But I guess it doesn't work like that. Unfortunately, if time healed alcoholism, that would be a great thing. We've been reading how it works, and the last three pertinent ideas in how it works is that I'm an alcoholic and I cannot manage my own life. The life that I can't manage is my inner life, my mind. I can manage the outside stuff halfway decently, but it's what goes on inside me as I'm doing the things that I'm supposed to be doing where I get unmanageable. My thoughts are not manageable by me, and crazy stuff comes in, and I get these obsessions and these ideas, and they drive me to be restless, irritable, and discontent. That's what happens. And it's all internal. The world doesn't drive me to be restless, irritable, and discontent, because on one day, something happens and it drives me crazy. On the next day, the same thing happens and it makes me happy. So it's not the stuff that's happening. It's the story that my mind tells me about what's happening that drives me crazy. So my inner life has become unmanageable. That's what's wrong with me. And B, that no human power can relieve my alcoholism. I'm a human power and you're a human power. And neither one of us can relieve my alcoholism. Neither one of us can make my life manageable again. And then it says that God could and would if he were sought. And sought is right now. It's right now in this meeting, right now. You're not going to sought God later. You can't sought in the future. And it doesn't matter if you sought him earlier today, because God can't help you earlier today. It's over. It's now. So God could and would if he were sought is a way of life. It's a right now message for right now. And that is what is needed in order for my alcoholism to be treated. God could and would if he were sought. What he could and would do is make it okay for me to live in the day that I'm in right now. He makes it, what God does for me, what this higher idea of a higher power does for me, is it makes me able to handle, to live in the day that I'm in right now without it needing to be different. It actually, what God could and would do is stop the argument that's going on in my mind about the way things are and the way I want things to do. So, but God could and would if he were sought. That's a big if. Because like it says in how it works, I stand at the turning point. Right here, right now. I'm either going to ask God's protection and care with complete abandon of self, or I'm going to ask my protection and care with complete abandon of God. And there are no half measures. So it's right now. God, could you help me? Could you be with me? Could you help me be the man you want me to be right now? Could you help me with my mind? Could you help me stop arguing? I thought that the argument was necessary, because how am I going to change my life to the life that I want it to be if I don't argue with the life that I have now? But I've never been able to change my life because the character that I am is an arguing, quarreling, fault-finding, opinionated, unsatisfiable character. So even if I get exactly what I want, I'm still quarreling with it. because that's the character that I am. So I need help. I need help to be okay in this moment and to allow this moment to be okay, whatever it is. People die. Jobs come, jobs go. Money comes, money goes. Weight comes, weight goes. It doesn't matter. This is the best moment there ever was because this is the moment that I'm alive. And this is the only moment that I could be sodding God. This is it. This one right now. Doesn't matter what you did 10 seconds ago. And that's kind of really what this meeting is about. It's about what am I doing right now? Wherever this right now happens to be. So right now it's here. I'm right here right now. Am I? Or am I thinking about something that was said 10 seconds ago and having a fantasy about how good it would be if I practiced that later? That's how subtle it is. I hear something good and I think, ooh, that's good. And then I start talking to myself about it. So the old idea, it becomes an old idea as soon as self knows it. As soon as self becomes aware of it, self wants to play with it and stay with that because every natural instinct in me cries out against the idea of personal powerlessness. I don't want to have to be sodding. I want to learn some tricks and be able to live in the tricks. There are no tricks. There's no trick. There is God could and would if he were sought. There's no trick in that. Because sodding can only be done right now. And it doesn't say found. It's just putting my attention on that, which is not me. And you get to define whatever that is. You sort of get to define it, but the definition of it is what has happened to you when you did that before, right? God, as I understood him, is because I did something and I had an understanding of what happened when I did it, because I did it. Not because I understand it, and not because I read it in a book, and not because somebody said it in a meeting and I believed it to be true. None of that matters. You can agree with me or disagree with me. Doesn't matter. God still could and would if he were sought. Doesn't matter if you agree with me or not. But you got to go find it yourself. You can't have mine. You can't have my belief. You have to build your own. And your own trusting and relying is where that's going to come from. It's so nice to know that God could and would if he were sought. And the only reason it's not happening in my life right now is because I'm not sodding. That's the only barrier to entry, is that I am a will not in this moment. I will not completely give myself to the simple program because I'm constitutionally incapable of being honest with myself. And I still think that I can figure out. I still think that I can manage my life. And I am being dishonest with me when I tell myself that I can. Because all of the evidence in the past is that I can't. That even when I manage it perfectly and I get exactly what I want, I'm not pleased. It's terrible. It's devastating to be that honest with yourself. But when I am that honest with myself, then I will completely give myself to the simple program, because the option of managing it and lying to myself that I can manage it is so unbelievably detrimental to my well-being on a daily basis. Wow. It's amazing. Couple little words is life-changing. Completely changed my whole life. And it doesn't just change my right now. It changes my whole story about everything that ever happened to me. I was talking to somebody today and they were talking about, oh, I just went through a dark period. And I'm like, wow, that's such an interesting way of looking at it. Was it a dark period or was it a growing period where you saw more truth and now you're more willing to have God could and would if he were sought? So was that really dark or was that necessary? Was that a beautiful experience that you got to walk through so that now you could live more in God could and would if he were sought. So it's like a story. I have a story about my childhood. Uh, I could have had the best childhood if I would have just said yes. I said no to everything in my childhood. My parents wanted to go snow skiing. I said, I don't want to go. I love snow skiing. But because my parents were going to be there, I didn't want to go because I had a story. I could have had the best childhood. But actually, now in looking back, I did have the best childhood. I had the best childhood being offered to me. I just didn't accept it. So I have a completely different story about my past today. And my right now could be the same as my past. It could be that I keep saying no to life. Or maybe today I could say yes. Maybe I could say, okay, this is my life. This is the life that God gave me right now. Or that whatever's the life-giving thing that gave me life, whatever that is. When I use the word God, it's always confusing to me because it always seems to start with a man somewhere, and I don't believe in that. But the fact that I have a life is amazing, that I get to be alive, and as I go through the steps, I start to become the man that I think God wants me to be here, and I become the man that I always wanted to be by living these steps, so that I am comfortable in the life that I'm living today, because God could and would if he were sought. So that's the end of that, how it works. Now we're going to start going into step one. So we're going to start some recovery, even though step one is all seeing that my life is unmanageable. So it's really still disease based. But there's some surrender in there. There's some admitting in there. There's a lot of good stuff that can be practiced in step one. So we're in the big book, and we're going to read some stuff now.
Are you ready?
Yeah.
Have you heard songs about how to